Welcome to I'm Here to Talk, and I'm here to talk. Today's episode is about culture shock. Culture shock is something that many of us are obviously familiar with. Now, today's episode's kind of special, guys, because I'm going to be talking about and giving you guys an insight to my background. Personally, in my personal life, my biography, and whatnot. So, why did I choose to talk about culture shock today? Because many of you who don't know, obviously, most of you don't know yet, I am Canadian Egyptian, proud Canadian Egyptian. I've always been. However, it has helped me, garner some knowledge when it comes to, culture shock and all these things that obviously anyone with dual nationalities or multiple nationalities may face at some point in their lives, right? If you guys don't know, I was born in Richmond, in Vancouver, BC, in Canada, and all my whole life it was just staying in Canada, going to Egypt, staying in Egypt, going to Canada. It was back and forth. Me and my family, ever since I was a kid, we were so accustomed to not only moving, cities or schools or something as simple as that, but moving countries, and not just, any countries or countries that are similar, but countries that are, not that similar in culture. So Egypt and Canada are obviously completely different in culture and completely different in many other things that we're going to be mentioning throughout this whole episode. So, by blood, I am Egyptian, 100%. But I was born in Canada. And my whole life, I've been moving back and forth from Canada to Egypt, from Egypt to Canada, and so on and so forth. As of now in my life, I'm actually, and this is kind of interesting. I talk about this. I'm actually in a phase in my life right now where I literally live in both countries. I live in both Canada and Egypt right now. Most of my work endeavors are in Canada. Obviously, I'm Here to Talk. I haven't operated I'm Here to Talk in Canada whatsoever still. It's only been operating in Egypt so far. But Canada soon to come. And America, by the way, the States soon to come, inshallah. So most of my work is in Canada, and I have some endeavors here as well. However, in this phase of my life, I'm literally living in both. For the past few months of my life, and for the next bit, I'm literally gonna be like Canada, Egypt, Canada, Egypt, Canada, Egypt, all for work endeavors and business endeavors and whatnot. Just a young man chasing his dreams, fellas. But anyways, so obviously I have experience with many situations in my life when it comes to obviously, being in Canada and being in Egypt, and differentiations when it comes to both. Now, the reason I named this episode Culture Shock is not because of the exact definition of the word culture shock, right? Like, because here's the thing. Personally, I've never really felt like I was culture shocked, like, whoa, this is just like completely like, I've never, like, the word is heftier than what I felt before. Obviously, there were instances at times in my life where, for example, when I was, in Canada and then I went to Egypt, I was like, oh, okay, I forgot about that. Or like when I was in Egypt and I went back to Canada, I'm like, oh, okay, I forgot about that. But like culture shock, right? I've never been someone who hasn't been, accustomed to either or of the countries they're from, right? And something, when I was a kid, and this is very interesting. When I was a kid, I always, obviously we're kids, right? We wouldn't like to move schools or cities or heck, even countries, and leave our friends behind and whatnot. And as kids, and everything behind and whatnot. As kids, I don't think anyone would really be necessarily happy with that. I never had an issue with it, but obviously I wasn't happy with it. It wasn't something like, oh, let's go, we're moving countries again. But it was something that I was, okay with. At the time, I thought that it wasn't good for us as a family, or healthy, so to speak. But it's so funny. Over the past course of my life, I've come to learn that it actually was one of the best things that could have happened to us as a family, right? Well, me and my siblings especially, and not as much my parents obviously, but me and my siblings. And why is that? I'm so grateful that that's how we were brought up, because When I see some people right, with dual nationalities that completely forgot one side of who they are, right, it genuinely makes me feel grateful. I'm like, I'm glad I had the life I've had, born in Canada, moved back to Egypt, lived in Egypt for a few years, moved back to Canada, lived in Canada for a few years, vice versa, and so on and so forth. Whereas there was a time where I thought that was probably the worst thing a kid could go through. Now, as a 22-year-old man, I think that's one of the best things that happened to me in my whole life. And let me explain why. When it comes to both Canada and Egypt, I know everything about Canada and Egypt, right? I love both countries. I couldn't love Canada more. I couldn't love Egypt more. I love the people of the countries. I love Canadians. I love Egyptians. I know how to communicate with both perfectly, right? And I just know my ways around the country. I know the style of people. I know my ways around the countries. And it's something I'm grateful for, because here I am, I'd be sitting with someone who, with, I'm not going to say an exact same background. Rarely does anyone have the exact same background as me, or similar. For example, they have a dual nationality and they are, for example, Egyptian, whatever, or whatnot. And I could see, right, that they've completely forgotten their Egyptian roots. And I don't like that. I don't like when people forget their Egyptian roots because they have another nationality. I actually really hate that, right? Or the opposite. Or, for example, they forgot the roots of the other country they're from completely. It's like, I feel like it's very important to maintain and sustain, your identity as a whole, because that's your identity. Nationality isn't just something that's on paper for you, right? That's your identity. It's who you are. You can't lose it, because losing it is literally losing yourself, right? It's losing your character. It's losing who you are. I have seen people change 180 degrees after moving to to a country for a few years and then coming back. And, it really goes to show that no matter how strong someone's character is, or this or that, everybody in a way, shape, or form is malleable, no matter what. So that's what's very interesting, right? So keeping a strong grip on, who you are, on all your nationalities, is something that I cherish. I'm very grateful for having the ability to do with both Canada and Egypt. And, it's something that, it's so ironic. One day, as a kid, I thought it was the worst thing that could happen to a kid. And as a 22-year-old man, I think it's one of the best things that have happened to me and making me the man I am today. Here's the thing, obviously, in this podcast, right, like, obviously, I'm a representative of both Canada and Egypt. I'm a proud Canadian, proud Egyptian. However, right, like, when it gets down to the bottom of it, right, obviously, a lot of you may be thinking of the question that I will give you in this episode. If you had to pick one, what would it be? Now, let me think. Egypt, without a doubt. Egypt is, the greatest country. I said this before and I'll say it again. Egypt is the greatest country in the whole world. The Egyptian people are the greatest nation in the whole world. And as much as I love Canada, and I'm so grateful for Canada being a huge part of the reason I'm the man I am today, I am Egyptian by blood, by heart, by soul, and by choice. I am only Canadian on paper and by style. And this is with all honesty, no disrespect to Canada. I love Canada. I respect Canada. I will represent it till the day I die. However, if I had to die with one flag on my heart, it's the Egyptian flag. It's not the Canadian flag. And it's something that I've noticed, right? Like that it's very important for people to understand that you could have, dual nationalities or multiple nationalities. Realistically, you are your roots. You are your blood. There's no getting away from it, right? Because I see people a lot of the time, for example, when they have a dual nationality, let's say they're, this, that, or whatever. If they prefer one of the countries over the other, right? They shy away from even representing themselves as the other country, even ever like maybe going as far as to even figuring out that they hate being represented as that at some point or whatnot. I think that is really, really, really unhealthy, especially if that's like your actual roots, your actual culture, your actual, you get the idea. Honestly speaking, it would be better if it's the opposite. It would be better if they're more attached to their like roots, but they're more like, obviously that's not good as well, because you need to cherish everything in that made you the person you are today, which includes your nationalities. However, honestly speaking, that would be better than that. That's it's a subject that is very, like, interesting when it comes to that and whatnot. I all my life have been someone who was, always so very proud of who they are and where they come from. I've never for a second shied away from these things, right? Obviously, I'm going to get onto the point of, like, talking about, like, the countries and comparing them and certain things in them. Obviously, in my example being Canada and Egypt, right? And explaining to you more personally why I gave the answer I did earlier on in the episode. So, first off, I have always been very good in both countries. Communication wise, dealing wise, everything. Like, I know my ways around both countries, as I mentioned before. However, Egypt feels like home. Egypt feels like home. As beautiful as Canada is and whatnot, when I'm in Egypt, I feel like I'm home. This is home. When I'm in Canada, I feel like I'm at my second home. I'm at my other home, but my home is Egypt. At the end of the day, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. The Egyptian environment is just even different, and not just different than Canada and any other country in the world, man. I swear to God, like, Egypt is so special. Like, you won't understand what I'm talking about unless you have been into Egypt. Like literally, Egyptians, even, and like the way things are in Egypt are so beautiful. Always hospitality. Egyptians are the most hospitable people in the whole world. You can't convince me otherwise. Canadian Egyptian. I'm telling you, Egyptians are much more hospitable than Canadian people. Heck, I don't really think Canadians are that hospitable, if I'm being honest. Let me mention to you some, like, examples, right? In Egypt, if you're walking the street, right, and all of a sudden you face a problem or issue, right? To your right, to your left, in front of you, behind you, on top of you, below you, if there are humans, it's their problem and issue too now, right? They're in it with you now. It's their problem and issue now as well, and they're going all out with you. In Canada, the most you'll get from the people around you is a look. Oh shit, what's he going through? It's not my problem. Everyone's like, like, their life. In Egypt, you could be walking the streets and then you're bored, and then you look to your left, you see a guy walking on the same street, and you just start chatting shit with him, and you guys become friends and whatnot. The whole street you're walking together, now you're best friends, and now you have each other's number. And it's just, Egypt is just, communication wise and hospitality wise, is so much more different than any other country I have ever lived in or ever even visited. And I vouch for that. So that's an example. The men, right? Obviously, one of the most important points of any country is the country's men, of course, right? And women, of course. So I'll start with the men. Egypt's men are just the strongest, the bravest, the most prideful, men in the world, to be honest. Like, from my experience, at least, that I've dealt with. Egyptian men are just, men. The word man, by definition, in the dictionary. Honestly speaking, like, Egyptian men are like the perfect example of what a man should be, right? And I'm talking about, the Egyptians at heart, the men at heart, right? You'll never find a man like an Egyptian man, and that's a fact. So yeah, we know that point now, right? Honestly speaking. And taking me to the, not the next point, the same point, but the other gender. Women, baby, women. God, I think a lot of you want to hear what I have to say about this. Canadian women versus Egyptian women. First of all, let me be the voucher here for Egyptian women are the finest women in the market. This isn't even a debate, all right? Mind you, Canadian Egyptian here. Egyptian women are the finest women there is. You'd be lucky to end up with an absolutely gorgeous Egyptian woman. They're the best nurturers, the best cooks, the best supporters. They're the best and not to mention, well, I already did mention, but their beauty. MashaAllah. Ya Allah. Egyptian women are the pinnacle of beauty. And, this is with all honesty. Personality wise and looks wise. I'm being completely honest here. Mind you, Canadian Egyptian. That's not to say that the Canadian men and women aren't, the Canadian men are men and the women are absolutely gorgeous, beautiful as well. But, playing a game here, we got to make decisions. The Egyptian women take the cake. Food. That leads me on to our next point. Food. With all due respect to Canada, what the fuck is Canadian food? What is that? Poutine? That's all Canada has. All right, gang? I'm being completely honest with you. That's all Canada has. What else? Canadian bacon? Like what? Canada really isn't, because it hasn't been around for a while. You need to give it its chance, right? Obviously. So when it comes to food, there is no comparison. And honestly speaking, if I could go as far as to say it, not just with Canada, Egyptian food should not be compared with any other, food in the whole world. I swear to you. Egyptian food is the best food. I don't ever feel like I'm sitting down and eating, like I'm actually eating and I'm getting the nutrients and I'm good food unless it's Egyptian food. Like, get that fucking steak out of my face. Put the mahshi on the table. Now I'm eating good. You know what I'm saying? Nah, to be honest, I fucking love steak. But you get the idea. Like, Egyptian food, to be honest, it's so tasty. It's so filling. And honest to God, like, besides Canada, right? Egypt's food should not be compared with any other country in the world. And I'm being completely honest on that. Lifestyle. There is nothing like the Egyptian lifestyle, baby. Oh my goodness. Have the Canadians turn their backs on me after this one. I'm just being honest, guys. Come on. To be honest with you, right? I feel like, Canadian, Canadian food and whatnot, right? Is just it's not something that it doesn't even exist, right? Like, as I said, like poutine, Canadian bacon. What else you got? Maple syrup, blah 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 blah. Like, so yeah, Canada still has a long way to go there when it comes to like the culture and traditions. But yeah. Egypt food, easy, 101%. That leads me on to another point, right? Like, I was talking about lifestyle. That's what I forgot. Lifestyle, nothing like the Egyptian lifestyle. Egypt's nightlife, where they say, New York, the city that never sleeps. Egypt is the country that never sleeps, right? Egyptians don't sleep, right? And what I mean is, if at any certain point of the day or night, you are in need of something in Egypt, you will be able to do it. In no other country can you do that. Not in Canada, not in America, not in the UK. Nowhere can you do anything at any point of the day or the night unless you're in Egypt. Unless you're in Egypt. That's a known fact. Egypt doesn't sleep. Egypt is always operating. Same thing that goes with Egyptians. Egyptians never sleep. Egyptians are always operating, literally. And, I want to, talk about something else besides just comparing the countries and whatnot. Obviously, I wanted to talk about the point of how, both if you're someone that has dual nationalities, right? Your job is to give back to these nationalities for raising you and making you the person you are now by representing them, right? So completely neglecting one is, honest to God, never okay. And to be honest with you guys, when I notice someone who neglects one of their nationalities, especially the one where the roots and blood lies, that is a major red flag to me. I would not like to associate with anyone like that, because to me it proves weak character or no character at all. What character do you have if you don't even represent your own representation? You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a point. that, had to be mentioned, of course. And a lot of people, they talk about the point of, you know, oh, well, it's because I lived there longer or lived there longer. No excuses. You know what my mother would do whenever, like, we were living in Canada for, like, a few years and whatnot? She would every Friday make us study religion and the Quran and Arabic. That's all she did. Literally, it's not that hard to maintain and sustain where you're from if you actually give it the effort. It really isn't that hard. And I see people like, oh my goodness, how bad do I feel for someone when they don't even know their native tongue? I feel so bad for people that don't know their native tongue because of having, their life been absolutely, faked their whole life. I don't know why. To me, the perception I get when someone's like that, I'm like, yo, what were you living a fake life? You don't even know who you are, your native tongue. Like, how does that even work? I don't know about you, right? Like, obviously I'm not like saying anything bad about someone like that. I mean, like, how could they control it, right? Well, in their position and whatnot. But I was just talking about the point of it being easily controlled, but I mean, like, it's not always their fault, right? So yeah, so I think that, that's always a complete no-no. I would not imagine my kids not knowing their native tongue and representing, their country or countries. I could not imagine it. I will not allow it. And I don't want to imagine it. And I don't want to ever allow it. So yeah, we don't gotta go there pretty much. So yeah, talking about, these points and, getting onto these subjects leads me to another thing here to mention, right? When you lose one of your nationalities, whether it comes to the language, whether it comes to the style, whether it comes to whatever, you lose yourself. And I genuinely believe that. You lose yourself. And here's the thing, right? Here's the thing that's so beautiful about, losing oneself and whatnot, right? Because this actually gets me to talk about another point that's not even really related to, that, but it's related to losing oneself, right? You can't find yourself if you don't lose yourself first. And that is because how can you find something that you didn't lose in the beginning, right? You can't find something you didn't lose to begin with. So to find yourself, you must lose yourself first. And that is the harsh truth of it. The best way to finding yourself is losing yourself first. You cannot find something you haven't lost. Remember that. So going back to the subject of, culture shock and whatnot, I'm going to keep it 100% real, right? So one of the times that I had, when I was growing up, phase in my life was I was in Egypt for a pretty long time. I haven't seen Canada for, some time. And all of a sudden, I went to Canada. And when I tell you that, like, obviously, obviously, like, I knew my way around. I knew how to communicate. I knew, everything pretty much. But at the same time, even me being me and how well I was raised in both countries, I had some incidents. It happens to the both of us. It's crazy. It's like, it's a game, right? You can't get rusty in any country. You really can't. No matter how good you are or who you are, you can't, like, you got to always practice. It's the name of the game. And what does that mean? Visit your country. Spend time with the nation of your country. Do activities related to your country's tradition and culture. Speak the language. When you're in the country of, speak its language and communicate with the people using the language. It's just simple things like these that will get you to always be on your A game when it comes to, these things. The whole idea of, having different nationalities is honestly a blessing, but it is only a blessing with how you treat it, right? Like you can't, neglect a side and then expect that side to, have given you anything or be with you at any point in your life in the future or whatever. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. So yeah, to be completely honest with you, I think that, the most important thing about having dual nationalities is being able to obviously once more maintain and sustain these both things. Canada and Egypt made me the man I am, right? Now, I will be completely honest, right? I can't have, this whole episode, I'm just like pretty much like, like you're probably sitting there thinking at this point, is he biased? I promise you I'm not. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. I will give Canada one thing, right? When it comes to me personally, this is my personal opinion, pop culture. Honestly speaking, pop culture wise, I choose Canada. Most my pop culture indulgence is North American, honestly, and most of the things I grew up with as a kid and whatnot, and things I indulged in content wise, and movies, cartoons, games, whatever. North American, to be completely honest, and I without these things, right, I would not be the man I am today at all. At all. I'm being completely honest. So yeah, being completely honest there. For example, Pokemon. Yeah, I'm a huge fucking fan of Pokemon till today. Yes, a grown-ass 22-year-old man loves Pokemon. He will admit it till the day he dies. Pokemon, I was born with, raised with, and I fucking love Pokemon. Honest to God, my keychain over there has a stupid little Pikachu on it. It looks goofy and derpy as fuck, but I love it to death. And I don't care what anyone has to say about it. But anyways, so yeah, that's a point, for example, to be completely honest. And once more, I'll go back to the point of I love and respect both countries. I love and respect Canada. I love and respect Egypt. But I'm just sitting here on my podcast, sharing some, deeds with you guys. I know that also a bunch of people watching, could relate. They have dual nationalities or maybe even multiple nationalities. And I know that, the thing that unites us all, right, is realistically knowing that it isn't always easy to keep up. I know how it feels. It isn't always easy to keep up. And to be completely honest with you guys, there were times in my life, or until now in my life, pretty much like, as I mentioned before, Egypt is home. Canada is my second home. However, realistically, if I'm being completely honest with you, on the behalf of Egypt and Canada, I've never felt like I completely belonged anywhere, right? And it was because of that. It was because of like everything, right? It was because of being born and raised the way I was and whatnot, and being completely unique because of it. So feeling like I didn't completely belong, that of course I feel till today anywhere. I don't feel like I completely belong anywhere. Like when it comes to Canada, for example, oh yeah, well, he's definitely Canadian. Well, there's some things that clearly show he's different than the Canadians. When it comes to Egypt, oh, he's definitely an Egyptian, masri. But like, oh yeah, there's definitely things that, make him unlike any other Egyptian. So I've never really felt like, but I choose to belong to Egypt, 100%. So yeah, it's the name of the game pretty much. I think that, Egypt is actually, such a beautiful country to live in from this stance. Your houses, right? In the whole world, everyone has their own house wherever they live, right? In Egypt, if you're in Egypt, we're all in a house. I swear to God, we're all in a house. We're all family. We're all in a house. Everybody is helping out everybody in the streets. Everybody is supporting everybody in the streets. I love the Egyptian hospitality. And it just, you know, warmth wise, nothing's like Egypt, nothing's like home. So yeah. Now going back to something I was talking about at, you know, the beginning of the episode and whatnot, whereas in this phase of my life, I'm actually literally living in both. Like right now, I'm in Egypt, about to go Canada soon, and I'm gonna come back soon, and I'm gonna go to Canada again. Like, obviously, you know, for work endeavors and whatnot. Now, you might be asking yourself, like, all right, if so, then why don't you just, you know, go to Canada and stay to Canada? Now, here's the thing: it's because I actually wanted to start Amir to Talk in Egypt. And I made that decision because my roots. I wanted to start my dream where I'm from. And I know that Amir to Talk would thrive even way further in Canada. I'm sure of that. It's because of obviously my style of content and stuff like that. However, I don't care. I want to foundate it as established in Egypt, right? My roots. And it's just my choice. You know how many people were confused with my decision to, like, you know, start Amir to Talk and continue its operations for a while in Egypt, knowing I had the prowess to do it in Canada? So many people were just like, why? I'll tell you why. Because it's my roots, and because I want to say in the future, when this YouTube channel, right, is one of the biggest YouTube channels in the future, I want to say that it was established in Egypt. It was founded in Egypt. My roots. And I want to say that I built an Egyptian, you know, I don't even say fan base. I don't even like that word. An Egyptian family. And I took them with me on my journey to Canada and to the States and to the UK and throughout the whole world, you know. But where am I going to go back at the end of the day? Back to Egypt. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to start Amir to Talk in Egypt. And I wanted to continue his operations in Egypt for a while. And this is why. Yeah. So literally, what I am trying to say is that literally 90% of my life and work right now is in Canada. However, right, the reason it is the way it is because that 10%, for example, including Amir to Talk, I wanted to start Amir to Talk and continue its operations in Egypt for some time. And that is the true reason as to why. You know, it's just obviously, you know, like an interesting thing. I could completely understand, you know, like people's reactions and whatnot. I understand them, but I don't agree with them, because that's what it was for me, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, if you don't know, obviously, like, I have many work endeavors and business endeavors as of now. However, you know, my dream has always been content creation ever since I was a kid. Like, damn, I remember just like, I remember as a kid, like, I didn't have any friends as a kid. I'd go to my back garden at home, and when I take my camera, and I would take my Pokemon plushies and Pokeball and whatnot. I would make like Pokemon in real life videos and whatnot. I always wanted to be a content creator. And I would make like gaming videos and whatnot, like Five Nights at Freddy's. I mentioned that in an episode before, you know, my love for Five Nights at Freddy's as well. But yeah, like you know, I would always, you know, do stuff like that. And, you know, it was just my dream always as a kid. I was just waiting to grow up, because I took it so seriously to the point where I knew I'd look for myself in the mirror. I'd just be like, I need to grow, because people aren't going to take me seriously right now. I need to grow in height, in size. I need my voice to, you know, roughen up. I need it because no one wants to listen to, oh baby, hey guys, on YouTube. Like, imagine, like, I was so serious about it to the point where I would put myself in the position. I'd be like, I honest to God wouldn't want to hear a squeaky little kid trolling on Minecraft. What the fuck is that? Right? So I was like, I'm so serious about this. So I know what's at stake here. I need to grow up and mature up a bit. I need to grow up and mature up a bit. And here I am now. 21. I had started Amir to Talk. Obviously, I wanted to do it earlier. However, you know, God's plan's always the best plan. And alhamdulillah. And, you know, that's completely fine, you know. I don't think that there is anything I would have done differently, right? If I go back to my childhood when it comes to like my upbringing and, like moving and staying and whatnot. And I don't think I'd do anything differently. Not to mention that obviously I thank my parents till today did an amazing job raising me and my siblings. Thank you so much, Mom. Thank you so much, Dad. So yeah, like I don't think I would change any of it. I would not change any of it at all whatsoever. And yeah, I want to talk about a subject, or it's unrelated to this episode completely. How the fuck do you think a gorilla would beat 100 men? You don't need 100 men. I'm enough. I would absolutely fuck up a gorilla. This isn't even a question. I would absolutely fuck up a gorilla. You think it's gonna grab you? Slip, boom, boom, easy. Like, what is the gorilla gonna do to me? I would fuck up a gorilla. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want anyone to sit here and say that, gorillas would beat 100 men. Well, all right, fine. We'll end the debate with, all right, fine. They could beat 100 men, but they can't beat one Amir. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, gorillas ain't beating 100 men in a fight. All right, I'm gonna actually go to the subject and give my honest opinion about it, right? Which that was my honest opinion about it, but my other general honest opinion. Do you guys know anything about fighting? Every time a subject about fighting comes up in the world, it makes me realize how much the world knows nothing about fighting. Do you guys know how much fighting is exhausting? Do you guys know the number one concern in any martial artist or any fighter who truly knows how to fight and truly has studied martial arts and the art of it's stamina. It's not anything else other than this and that. And you know what stamina needs? It needs energy. Energy by muscles. And you know what that means? That means that the more muscles you have, then the bigger and stronger you are, the more stamina you're going to be using with every single swing you throw. Hence, a gorilla wouldn't be as efficient as people fucking think. All right. The people in the front lines, all right, they're getting clobbered. Whatever the fuck. The first few that come in, they're getting clobbered. After the first few, the gorilla... Do you know that humans actually have better stamina than a gorilla, right? That gorilla is getting fucked after like at max, like man 20, like literally, like I'm telling you. So this is my opinion. So I don't know why anyone thinks that, this is a subject. It's not a fucking subject. We've been catching gorillas for years. What the fuck? Why do people think that we wouldn't fuck up a gorilla? Of course the 100 men would win. We've been catching gorillas for years. So I don't know why people think that, the gorillas would win. If they would escape the zoos, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like when it comes to that subject, I really wanted to talk about that, to be honest, because that's fuming trendy right now. And I've always been into the subject of me versus wild creatures, okay? I would fuck up a gorilla. I don't care what anyone says, literally. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that subject. Let's go back to, our episode, Culture Shock. So, yeah, guys, as I was talking about, whatever nationality you might have, this is my side of it, right? Whatever nationality you might have, any and all of them, you really, really, really have to, really take care of it when it comes to, your memory of the language of, any and everything related to the country, because it truly does pain me, especially when I see people forget their roots. Like, it really does. So yeah, obviously many people are proud of where they're from, and if you are, then you don't only say it, you have to show it, right? So me, for example, proud Egyptian, proud Canadian. I constantly represent both countries, always. And I'll be completely honest here when I say this, right? Right, because I have noticed, right, in this like dilemma of whatever, someone preferring a certain nationality of theirs over the other, and then like all right, that's cool, whatever. But this is here, like for me, honestly, this is what I do, right? When I'm like, I can mention that I'm Canadian Egyptian. I can mention that I'm just Egyptian. I just say Egyptian, I don't say anything else. But to be completely honest, I don't ever find myself mentioning, I'm just Canadian. Right? Like I don't ever finding myself mentioning that, because to me it's like I'm betraying my blood by saying that. If I say I'm just Canadian, it doesn't feel okay to me. But when I say I'm just Egyptian, that's okay to me. Saying Canadian Egyptian obviously is the name of the game, but I'm trying to explain an example here of like, see what I'm talking about when it comes to the roots. Like I could let Egyptian pass by. I could say that and whatnot. But Canadian, no, because it goes back to the point of my roots and my blood at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I am Egyptian by heart, by soul, and by choice. I am Canadian on paper. Said it earlier and saying it again. So, yeah. Why do we constantly find ourselves, right, in a dilemma when it comes to the countries and representing them and whatnot? So obviously people find that because they always think that it's a matter of choice, when it's not really a matter of choice. It's actually a matter of just being efficient, efficient with everything you're doing. And it's the same thing when it comes to having multiple nationalities or whatever. Literally, like, treat them as like your kids, for example. Can you neglect a kid and and take care of the other one? No, like it doesn't make sense, right? It's the same idea. You can't neglect your country, this one, and then take care of that one. Like, I don't know. Obviously, I wanted to talk about this a lot on this episode because it's something that I've always found myself like, on the other side of, when it comes to questioning and whatnot. I couldn't be more happy with, my efficiency when it comes to both countries and, how they made me the man I am today. But yeah, and surely at some point in life, right? At the end of the day, even though I will always thank both Canada and Egypt for making me the man I am, at the end of the day, I will be buried in Egypt, right? I'm gonna be buried where I'm from, where my blood is from, where my roots are from, and that is Egypt. That is not Canada. However, I respect and love both Canada and Egypt. I will represent them both till the day I die. And I hope some of you guys may have, gotten a better mindset or mentality of that subject after watching this, especially, of course, if you could relate to, having dual nationalities or multiple nationalities. When it comes to me, this is the name of the game for me. And yeah, I've had memories in both countries, so many memories, and I'll cherish them both till the day I die. And there's not one thing, literally, that I would change about that. So that's pretty much it. I really enjoyed this episode with you guys. It's something that is, a serious subject for me. It's something that I love to talk about all the time. I wanted to talk about here on I'm Here to Talk. And yeah, I know a lot of you could relate. And I hope that, you take something out of this episode, whether it is, to, be, caring to both of your nationalities or your multiple nationalities or wherever you're from, as you do owe it to them one way or another, or to know that you're doing just the right thing. Or even if you're someone who can't really directly relate to the subject, of course you have things to say too. Like, these people, like, they have a lot of things to say about people with dual nationalities and multiple nationalities and how they do things. So of course this is a subject interesting for you as well. So I'd love to hear what you guys would like to say as well. What do you think about, my mentality and my mindset with it? And per usual, just keeping the unfiltered and real environment going on here in Amir to Talk. So yeah. I just, God damn, I actually remembered something kind of funny. So I was one day, right? I was going to this place, right, in Canada, and I remember I don't remember where I was going exactly, but I had a friend with me, and his name was Steven. Steven was a little fucking thief, all right, Steven. So Steven, right? That's what we're calling him, by the way. Okay? Steven was a little fucking rat. And the reason Steven was a little fucking rat. And the reason I mentioned this, right, is because at the beginning, right, of before I shot this episode, one of my team members behind there at the camera, I heard him using Alexa for a second, so it reminded me of a memory that has to do with Alexa. So we were going to this place, right? And all of a sudden, we hear a loud, like, thump of like a car or something like that. So we look in the direction of the sound and we see a big truck, right? I guess it was from Amazon, and it was carrying a bunch of Alexas, right? And apparently it dropped and they all fell, and like the employees came out and started, picking everything up and fixing everything and whatnot. So Steven, that little fucking rat, decided to, without anyone noticing, snatching around, give me that shit, and getting out of there like, I don't give a fuck, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, we continue walking one, I'm like, oh, that's crazy, whatnot. All of a sudden, I look at his hand, I see his hand, I'm like, Steven, what the fuck, you thief? And he's just like giggling and whatnot. I'm like, that is not good. That is stealing and whatnot. So we take the thing home, all right, and we try to get it to work. Man, Amazon and Alexa are 3 steps ahead. They took the exact, code of the product that was stolen, that they found out after it was stolen, right? They listed it, found out it was that one with that serial number, and they canceled Alexa's service on it. Damn. So as you can see, obviously, Steven, little fucking rat, little fucking rats never win at the end of the day. So yeah, that's a lesson not to steal, right? Honestly, like, to kind of like a funny story, I swear to you, because like I remember how crazy it was, because like till today it's crazy to me. It's just like, oh shit, like, that specific product was stolen. Oh, cancel that shit. That shit's actually kind of fucking wild. I'm not gonna lie to you. It gives me, like, you know what it gives me? It gives me FBI vibes from, fucking Alexa. I don't trust Alexa for a second. By the way, speaking of these home products, I don't trust any of these products. Like, I'll use them, I'll buy them, but I won't trust them. I'm being honest here. I'm being honest. And if you think something other than that, then honestly, like, you're delusional, because it's fishy as hell. You're delusional. You know what? You're delusional as, right? You're as delusional as pug owners. Pug owners are delusional. Pug owners are blind, literally. Have you ever seen a pug owner like grabbing the little and like kissing it and whatnot? How the fuck are you gonna call that thing cute? I would own a pug, don't get me wrong, but every time I see it in the living room, I'd remember that thing. I fucking reminded how fucking hideous it is. I'd be like, oh, look at you, ugly little shit. Go eat your food. Go drink your water. I would take care of it and all. I would love it, but I would keep constantly reminding it of its ugly ass fucking face. So yeah, speaking of that, I am actually random as hell sometimes. See that, guys? That's where the ADHD that I mentioned from way before early on in the channel. Not way before early on at the first ever episode. Welcome to Amir to Talk, or not episode, video. But yeah. That's where my ADHD kicks in. Had a bunch of fun with you guys. This was honestly so very fun. You know, talking about a subject that I could relate to, that you guys could relate to, and even if you guys can't really relate to, you'd love to talk about as well. You have opinions on about as well. So we all, you know, are interested in this subject. Had a lot of fun talking about it. And especially that it's something like, as I told you guys, that it was a subject that got you guys to know a bit more about me and to give you a deeper insight on my background, biography, and whatnot. Obviously, more to come, and you'll learn more about me along the way and along this journey. However, like for now, this episode, you know, like also does a good amount of that. So yeah, I enjoyed this a bunch with you guys. As always, you know how it is. Stay real. People in the streets ain't real. You know how it is. So yeah, it's been fun, and I'll smell you later.